Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. This week, we chat with Kai Patterson, filmmaker from California, who did the Patterson cut of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show over at Disney+. It's his version. It's a 2.5-hour version of the TV show that was about 4.5, 5 hours long that he cut down and did some other effects and editing too. A Patterson cut of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We also chatted about his upcoming short film that he's crowdfunding for right now, The Calico Cuckoo. Check that out as well at kaipattersonfilms.com. We talked a bunch of stuff on here, Star Wars related and so on. So check all that out here on this episode. But before you go there, capesandtights.com for all kinds of content, as well as our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as Spotify and Apple for the podcast version of, or the audio version of this podcast as well. This is Kai Patterson, filmmaker, and of the Patterson cut of the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show for Disney+, but his own version of it, I guess, as I ramble on here before we start this episode. Enjoy, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, Kai?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And this is the second one I'm doing today, by the way, just to let you know. So I'm on a roll. I got the energy. I got the coffee in me. I know we have a 3-hour time difference here, so it's a little bit different for you, but I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I probably just got out of the shower 10 minutes ago. So
I mean, at least you put some clothes on. That's all that matters. Right?
Yes. You're lucky that I have clothes on, really, is what I'm saying.
Well, all I need, you just need to have a shirt on, really, right? I mean,
yeah, we're not going to pan down.
No.
I know what you're trying to do.
I've done actually, earlier today, I talked to another person. I went and grabbed a comic book from over on the shelf over there. And I'm like, I am glad I'm wearing pants, because I stood up and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Number of times during the pandemic, people have been caught with their pants down.
I know. I don't want to be just another viral video of that,
I mean, what is it? Good market? Any marketing is good marketing, or no?
That's true.
So, Kai, you are a filmmaker. I hate, because you are a filmmaker. You're not just someone who makes fan edits. There is people who that's what they do. They have fun with it. It's great, but you are a filmmaker. Let's just talk a little bit about how you got into films in general, not making films or working on them, but have you had a big love for the film industry since you were a wee one, or is this something that came on later on in life?
Yeah. There's a small indie film called Jurassic Park. And I watched it probably when I was 5 years old. And by the way, that's not it didn't come out when I was 5, but my mom finally let me watch it when I was 5. And I remember watching it and going I really there's something about it that I knew was going to change my life forever. And at first I thought it was that I wanted to be a paleontologist. And for a while as a kid, I would always just be I'm sure there's a ton of embarrassing pictures that my sisters would love to throw up on the screen, but me pretending to be Timmy or Dr. Grant, just brushing away sand off of rocks and stuff. But then I realized that what I really loved about that film was how it transported you to a different world that felt so real and tangible, but ultimately it was a ride of entertainment, and that's what I wanted to do. After a while I was then I started making films around 6 or 7, and my dad let me borrow his camera for stuff, and I would just make movies and make my sisters be in them, and plenty of funny movies that I made over the years, and always documenting everything, everything that my family would do. I'd always have a camera in everybody's face. So yeah, filmmaking's been part of my life forever.
I love the Jurassic Park connection. So for 2 things. One is I got married in 2020, and the music we walked down the aisle to was the Jurassic Park theme, but not the original one from the movie. It was the Vitamins String Quartet did one. And I mean, obviously you can hear that now in your brain. You can hear the classical sound of a Jurassic Park theme, walking down the
Mm-hmm.
aisle. Some people got it, some people didn't. My wife's not like a massive Jurassic Park fan. She just liked the song. And
Yeah,
so
well, I love it, so I appreciate that.
some people are like I could just picture them going, huh? Wait, what was am I hearing? And then the second thing is a couple about a year ago or maybe 6 months ago, I have an 18-month-old son. We went to the store really quickly and I bought him a car, and his favorite car to drive around is the Jurassic Park Jeep. And it's not the original, like is it an Explorer or is it a Cherokee? I think it's a I don't remember what it is. Is it a Jeep Cherokee?
The Jeep I feel like it's a Wrangler, and then the Ford Explorer.
Yes. There's a Jeep Wrangler and then the Ford Explorer. So not the Ford Explorer, but the Jeep Wrangler from probably the newer films. But he drives that around all the time. And I kind of bought it thinking that he would get bored with it quickly so that I could have it. Nope. He brings it everywhere with him. He says Jeep, 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 and he wants that. And so I told my wife that I was like, I can't wait till he actually gets to the age where I can show him the Jurassic Park films, because I do remember that as a child. And it scared me, honestly, for originally.
Oh, yeah.
They did such a good job with the special effects and the actual practical effects in that film that made it a classic, let alone the story was amazing too. But yeah,
I was always watching those like behind the scenes of that, like even at a super young age. Like I loved knowing like how they made stuff, and I remember like seeing how they made a giant dinosaur so that they could interact with it on set. I was like, that's insane. And then I would like use my toys and like do forced perspective in my camera to make the toy look really big, and like so that was always fun. And I also just went to Comic-Con where they had the Jurassic Park Jeep, or they had like a replica of the Jurassic Park Jeep Wrangler just like on the show floor, and I was like so giddy. I mean, I've seen now those like hero cars like at a couple different places, and every single time it gets me so excited. Like no matter how many times I see it, I like go and I'm like, oh, I just want to go inside, I want to drive it, I want to drive in the rain.
Well, I'm 30, I'm 36, and I feel like when I think of cars, that's one of the cars that I think about. I think of obviously DeLorean from Back to the Future, those ones, but like not like my parents who think like Kit from Knight Rider and the original Batmobile from the original Batman show. Those things are their cars. My cars are definitely Jurassic Park's Jeeps, the Jeep and the Wrangler, or not the Wrangler, the
Explorer. Yeah,
those things to me are the iconic vehicles. Some of the iconic vehicles from my childhood, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. Like my childhood cars are the ones that got destroyed in the movie. And then their childhood was like really cool cars that had cool powers.
Yes. That talk to you, right? The cars that, oh my God, craziness. The car can talk to you now. Nowadays, it's just we get in the car and talk to the car like it's nothing else.
True.
But I mean, so I'm guessing Jurassic Park, obviously, you must have been a Star Wars fan too then, right? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom was always a huge Star Wars fan too, and her sister, my aunt, was like one of the biggest Star Wars fans. And so I remember like at a really young age, like getting the whole original trilogy treatment, and this is Star Wars, and I was like, I like, that is definitely one of the most iconic set of films ever made. And I know a lot of filmmakers too that are like, Star Wars is the reason why I'm a filmmaker. And I definitely have Star Wars definitely affected like every kind of storytelling that I had. I as a kid, probably in like elementary school, like me and my best friend would like write little short stories of our own Star Wars stories, and because around that time when I was probably in elementary school, it was that time between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and we got like the micro series, the 2D micro series, and I just remember like being so excited that like Star Wars, which just like had different avenues to express itself, and that's what I always really enjoyed about like the expanded universe, and then now it's Legends. But when it was the expanded universe, I would like literally read Wikipedia like to no end, and like all my family would be like, oh, look at that guy with a funny head. And I'd be like, his name is Ki-Adi-Mundi, and he blah 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 blah. And I knew his whole backstory. Yeah,
It's awesome that it's like what we could put our minds to learn actual knowledge that's necessary in life, and what we would put our minds to, people who know baseball statistics and things like that, like nothing else. And then there's like, I mean, I'm a huge comic book fan, so there's some things where my dad's watching a movie. And he's like, "Oh, I watched that new Marvel movie. And there was a character on there I didn't know." I'm like, "Well, in the original comic books."
yeah,
It's like, I don't care. I want to go to the theaters and just watch a movie. I'm like, "Yeah, but some of us like to learn these things." And now I have
yeah.
behind me the new Star Wars High Republic series of books too. That is actually pretty good too. Charles Soule and those people over there at Lucas did all
Yeah, have
these
you read
new.
all of them?
I have not read all of these yet.
Okay.
I've
Have you
read
read
the
some of them?
Light of Jedi, the first
Okay.
Charles Soule one.
I I wish I could get into like all the expanded books and comics and stuff. I just like I'm definitely a watcher of things.
yes.
So any series or movie like I will watch. And then sometimes I even like watch YouTubers who like, go through what's going on in those stories just so I'm like up to date with them. But maybe I got to get them like audio and go to the gym and just listen to them.
Well, and there's another one I'm going to be reading. One of the ones I'm having Kevin Scott on, who is a Star Wars author, and he writes the Star Wars High Republic books for Marvel right now. He's coming on in the new year to talk about his other book he has out too. It's a comic book as well. But I'm gonna probably read one of his before then, just so I have some. It might be out of order. I might do a whole Star Wars thing where I read and then go back. And but they're good. They're definitely good. And a friend of mine I talked about how we love how big the universe can get. The universe of Star Wars is big, and having different avenues for people to be able to read it. If someone's really not into movies, they can read the books. If they're not into books, they can watch the movies. There's podcasts. There's TV shows. There's audio books. I believe The Tempest Runner is one of the ones, the purple book I have back here. It was originally an audio book only. And then they took the script from the audio podcast book and put it into a book for people to read. So there's so many different places and things for people to catch in their Star Wars fandom that it's insane. They're now, I think that's been helped by the fact that they're owned by Disney. I think that's a big financial push for them to be able to do that. And now the benefit you mentioned about just watching is, I almost guarantee you right now, I could tell you right now, this is probably going to be on the screen at some point. Like what's in these,
I'm sure, yeah.
The High Republic is the next big thing, I think, in the future for the next generation of Star Wars fans. It will be Luke Skywalker will still be in the lore, but it will be whatever all the characters that are in the High Republic for sure.
Yeah, true. And I think also sometimes I have the hesitation because I've heard that the what's on the screen takes precedence in canon, and that often things get retconned from books and comics that come out and stuff. So like for me, I'm sure those books are very entertaining. I just like, I don't want to get it attached to something that ultimately is just like, oh, we changed it because we actually like it better this way. But I guess everybody has their own version of canon too, and especially when Disney came out. I mean, literally the Patterson cut. That's my version of canon.
It's in canon, in my opinion, right? Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it when I watched it. I was laughing because I use Letterboxd to like track some films and put some lists together. And I'm like, well, technically, I can't put this in there because it links to the movie database. And I'm like, well, it's not an actual movie. So I'm like, and it kind of pissed me off because I'm like, I like to keep track of what I've watched, and I can't put it.
Yeah.
But I put it on I have a Plex server at home too. And so I was able to put it on the Plex server because I was able to get it. Obviously I downloaded it from the site.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people who put it on their Plex, but I was like, okay.
I do have Disney Plus subscription.
I don't do Plex, but
I'll tell everybody right now, I do have a Disney Plus subscription, and you need to watch that as well.
Yes.
Well, I say you need.
I appreciate that.
You should.
Yes.
One doesn't equal one. It's just you have to do it to make it to do the legit way of doing it. But before we get into the Patterson cut on this, the different ways of doing things and reading things and all that. Like I said, this is the future of. I believe this is the future of it. And recording. My wife is a Marvel fan now, Marvel MCU fan now, but she's not really into comic books or anything like that. So we tried to watch some of like the Netflix stuff and some other Marvel related things, and she just couldn't get into it. So I was just saying the connection to the idea that it's not part of the overall universe that she knows it would probably be the same thing. She's not a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
So, but if she read these, she's like, well, they don't really connect yet and all that stuff. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that side of let's keep your movie screen universe as one thing and then that setting separately so that you don't have to get not confused, but your retcon part. Yeah. That part.
Yeah.
So let's talk some Patterson cut. So isn't that crazy? Can you believe that you have something called the Patterson cut?
That is so weird, honestly.
But I don't, how did I stumble upon this? I would love to remember.
Yeah, I always love hearing how people stumbled upon it.
I did reach it a little later because of the fact that I probably learned it from your discussions with IGN or all the other places. It probably was a friend who stumbled upon it and put it on Facebook or something like that. It was probably shared that way. And I might have been at the time where I actually couldn't see it because you were having it being taken down. And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I finally was able to get it, when I was finally able to download it, I'm like, I got to download this right now. So just in case it gets taken down again, I can actually see it. Because I really enjoyed the show. Like, I think, and I'm guessing you did too, enjoyed the show, but we had a discussion on this podcast with my former co-host on the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. And multiple times in that episode, talking about the entire series, was the fact that this would have been better as a movie. Like multiple times we said this would have been amazing as a film. I think, and you may have been doing some more research and know a little bit more about this, or at least have an idea that the movie Solo probably ruined the fact that it wasn't an actual movie because people didn't really like that one as much. But yeah, so my point with just saying this as I ramble on here is, when I found out that you had the Patterson cut out there of this, I was like, this is exactly what the world needs, because it should have been a movie. The show should have been a movie. And obviously you agree because you obviously made a cut of it on there as well.
Yeah.
But did you think that when you were watching it, that this would be better as a movie?
Honestly, I did not set out to make it a movie. Most of the things that was going through my head was that, like, I was enjoying, a good, like, probably 60% of the show. Like, each episode I would go away, like, definitely, like, excited for the next episode, but there were always things in each episode that I was just like banging my head on the table, like, why did they need to include that? Or like, why did they hang on that so long? Or, just like, it definitely felt a little drawn out to me. Which I understand, and again, I'm just glad that we even got a show like this, like, I'm just glad we got Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan. Like, that made me so happy. And so, like, I knew that the skeleton of the story was there and was really good. That's why when you watch my cut of the show as a film, I feel like there's still that overall story satisfaction, because it did have a climactic ending that I think felt satisfactory after, watching that whole story. And it did feel like, there was something that they were trying to tell. And as much as I do still have problems, like, even with my own cut, I still wish I could, go back and reshoot things, or like rewrite, some of the script. Like, even the last fight, like, there's something about that generic stalactite type planet that just, like, didn't sit well with me. And, like, to have that after Revenge of the Sith, where, like, the huge set pieces are, the whole fight is an obstacle, not only between characters, but, like, also just the world around them. And I didn't feel that danger in the last fight in Obi-Wan, which was kind of sad, because it's like, you go from, this incredibly epic, fight between master and apprentice, and then now you have Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and you want it to be more epic than the last time, but we're on this generic planet. But yeah, all that to be said, I really did enjoy the show, and there were just things that didn't sit well with me. And as I had all of the footage in my editing software and I was cutting things down, I literally, when I was done cutting out everything I needed to cut out, I was like, oh, it's 2.5 hours. I was like, that's a great movie right there. And
I
yeah,
didn't
so
look
that's
it
kind
up.
of how that was born.
I didn't look it up, but how long is it altogether? Do you know that, how, like, if you took
I
all the,
think it's about like 4.5 hours
okay,
altogether,
yeah.
because it's 6 episodes and not all of them are like an hour. I think most of them are like 45 minutes ish or 40 minutes. So
Yeah, I didn't even, I meant to look that up too to see how it goes down to, because you cut it
yeah,
down to, like, what is it, 2:30 or
two and a
2:29?
half hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2:29 or 2:30.
Yeah, right around there. And that includes any, like,
All the
opening
credits
sequence and
and
yeah, stuff like
yeah.
that too. Yeah. But the idea, though, like I said, we loved it. Like I said, my friend Adam, who used to be on the podcast with me, we loved the show. It was again more amazingness, and we are not as much of a critic to the sequel or prequel trilogies as some people may be. We do enjoy the films. I think there's some things that, as anybody could see as Star Wars fans, could be
Yeah.
have changed, but they're not as bad as people put them out there to be. And so we still think that this generation of the TV series on Disney Plus is, helping those people who don't like the prequel trilogy, regain some love for Star Wars, The Mandalorian, this Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett. Like, those are, like, now, I mean, even Bad Batch, the animated show, is really good, giving us Star Wars fans some quality products. So yes, the show itself, the way it stands, is a great show. I just, to me, was thinking to myself, how often, I'm going to say this, but you've watched it obviously multiple times now, having to cut
Yeah.
it down. How often am I going to watch all 6 episodes over and over and over again? But if it was a 2.5 hour film, there's a good chance that at least once a year I'm going to throw this film on and watch it. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's that thought that if it was a film, it would be in that annual watching of something. Like, if I watched all 9 movies over again, I'm probably going to watch Solo in there. You're going to throw Rogue One in there. This would be thrown in as well if it was a movie, but because it's a TV show, I might be like, I don't have time to watch 4.5 hours of
Yeah.
actual film. So that's where I'm saying it would be better as a film in that aspect of rewatchability, getting someone's attention for that long. Like, I don't think I could get my wife to rewatch this show again, just because
Yeah.
she's not going to sit down and watch 6 episodes again. And so that's why I think it sounds better to me. Not that your cut is a better made product. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a better form or vessel, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially for rewatches. I know, like, for me too, like I'm the same way. I haven't even like rewatched, Mandalorian, even though I loved it so much. I'm just like, it's a lot of content. And, if I had a movie version for every show, I think I would be more inclined to rewatch something like that. And then, like, I even a YouTuber, Pentex Productions, and we cut the Boba Fett show into 2.5 hour movies. And even that, I'm like, I don't know if I'll rewatch even 2.5 hour movies, like, as much as I really like them, because obviously I worked on them, but like, it's still like, oh man, it's a lot of content. There's so much content out there right now in general that's like, you really got to pick what you're going to rewatch, if you're going to rewatch at all, or if you're just going to consume new stuff.
And so the benefit of a fan edit like yourselves, your product here is that I now have that, which is cool. I had that ability to watch this in sequence with other films and things like that. But fan edit, such a funny thing, because a fan I see as someone who, like, my wife would be a fan of something, but doesn't have the skill or the want to do something like you did with the Patterson cut. And it has to be called
office light to 10%.
Look at that. Well, that's what we were talking about right five seconds ago about the idea of talking as your car. Is that vessel of that ability is called the fan edit, even though you are a professional, like, you're a filmmaker. And so it's funny how you can't call it just an edit, because you don't make the film. It's not your film. It's still a fan edit because you're a fan of the film. That's just a funny thing. When I saw, I'm like, why is it called a fan edit? Oh wait, because he is actually just a fan. Like, it's just not his job. You didn't get paid to do this. You probably spent more money
not at all.
on
I
it.
didn't make any. I definitely spent money on it for sure, and spent a lot of time on it too. I actually, like, my first cut of the Obi-Wan show into a movie, I actually did in like a weekend. I think it was one of those things where, like, Friday night I was like, talking to my girlfriend and like just kind of being like, I think I might recut stuff, because I'd seen fan edits before, like Ivan Ortega doing the Last Jedi fan. I don't know if you
I didn't see that
heard
one, but I've
about that,
heard
but
yeah.
And I followed his journey a lot when he was editing them, and seeing how much, like, I've literally been an editor since I've been a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So, I know the power of editing, but also just seeing what Ivan Ortega did with The Last Jedi, and like being able to restructure stuff and just cut little things out. I was like, wait, like, you really can't, like, editing is so powerful. And so I just was thinking, like, I don't know if I'll release it or anything. I didn't want to like announce anything until I had a final product, because I know a lot of people that announce things and then fans just get restless and they're like, I want it now. So I was like, if I am going to announce something, I better have a final product and it better work. And so I just was like thinking about it, and then I think my girlfriend had something that she was doing all Saturday, and she came home and I was like, so guess what I started doing? And she's like, of course. She like, as soon as you started talking about it, I knew it was going to happen, because I always see my ideas through. So I'm like, like, once it was a little, like, I did Inception on myself. Like, once it was a little idea in my head, I was like, I have to do it. I have to. But yeah, so I did the initial cut in like a weekend, and then it took like another, I think, a week and a half to 2 weeks of just like, fine tuning, adding my Blender scenes, like my 3D recreation scenes, and other visual effects stuff. Something that no one really ever notices was that I actually like fixed Palpatine's makeup in the end shot, like when he's talking to Vader as a hologram. Something that like bothered me was that, I don't know, his makeup was different than like all the other films. Like his eyes weren't as sunken in, and they weren't like as dark around. It was like very much just like, he probably had the prosthetic and they didn't really apply any eye makeup to him. So I just, like, in my version, I darkened that whole area, so it looked like also there was more of a shadow from his hood and stuff, kind of how you see him in a lot of those original trilogy holograms and stuff. So but so far no one really has noticed that, but that's one of those things that I like probably spent a good couple hours on, just fixing that. And there's definitely a ton, and I think at some point I want to do like a whole YouTube video where I go through every little change I made, which is probably going to be like an hour long video, but I think a lot of people would want to hear it.
Oh, it's fascinating to me, because I think there's the I don't have the technology or the ability to make my own film, but taking someone else's footage that they filmed and then making your own film out of it is a cool thing that I could see myself wanting to do or doing. And so having that Star Wars title to do that with is kind of fun. So you did it and you put it up there. When did you start hearing from the you should take this down kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'll tell just the story on like putting it up in general, but like after I had it all done and I'd shown it to, my girlfriend, mostly is the creative person that I was bouncing ideas off of. So I showed her. She had some edit suggestions too before the final cut. And then I had it all done and I was like, all right, like, I think I'm ready to go. And I was like, let's see if there's any interest at all. Like, if anybody wants to see this, let's see. So I posted on TikTok and I just, kind of laid out some of the changes that I made. And I said, hey, if you want to see this, let me know. If not, this is going to flop and whatever. It doesn't matter, because I did it for myself, but if other people wanted to see it, then great. And then that video just started blowing up immediately, and so many comments, thousands of comments, like, I need to see this, like, please release this, like, do you have it, please put it up right now, and like, I was not expecting it to go that fast, and I was like, oh man, what do I do? like now I have thousands of people who are like demanding that I release this. So I was like, okay, I better figure out how to, get it up in a way that people can watch it. So I started like, doing the Google Drive route, and then, a couple other things. And I like, the Google Drive one is hard because there's like a download limit, for people. So, that went really quick when I released it. It was like probably within 4 seconds, the download limit hit and people were mad at me already. And I was like, and I even had like, then people in my actual life started like being like, whoa, I saw this video, like that's so crazy, can I see it too? And so I had like a VIP drive link, so that it wouldn't get throttled. And then so that was the first day, and I did release it that day. And right before releasing it, actually, I like watched it one more time all the way through. I was like, just in case, I just got to make sure. And there was one editing mistake that I had, like when I changed the scene after Wade gets killed, spoilers also. And when I kind of do a montage, instead of having them kind of talk about Wade's death, I just did like a musical montage. And in that section, like one of my edits overlapped with one of the show's edits. So like the montage like did a little like frame glitch, and I was like, oh no. And I literally like jumped into my software. I like fixed that and like made sure that there was nothing else wrong with it. And then I did do a re-export right before, like I was already had it up on Google, and people were starting to download. So, and I was like, wait, I got to delete this. It has a mistake. And then the second day rolled around, and I woke up to people like tagging me and things and being like, dude, like they wrote an IGN article, they wrote a Variety article, like people were tagging me in this. And I was like, how? No one talked to me. Like I'm finding out after everybody else is finding out. And that's when I started getting like DMs from people who are like, hey, listen, like I don't work for Disney or anything, but like they could destroy you, so you might want to like just take all this stuff down. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I definitely 100%. If like I heard from Lucasfilm or Disney and they were like cease and desist, I'd be like 100% taking it down, all that. But I've heard nothing from anyone legally. So I'm like, all right. And people like some people that worked on the show in different capacities have reached out, and they're like, a lot of people in the Star Wars bubble that are making content, they know about this, but I don't think they're gonna shut it down or anything. I was like, okay, all right, that's good, because I don't want to go to prison. So but it's been a crazy ride.
It's insane. It's funny to see. I've seen the guy who wrote or cut the trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever and does a bunch of Marvel trailers, was at one point just made fan edits on YouTube, and someone caught him and said, we love what you're doing for fan trailers, we need you to work for us. And now he just does trailers. I want to remember his name. That's amazing. He was on Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith. They talked to him because he's done like Star Wars, he's done Black Panther, he did Ant-Man, he's done a bunch of stuff for Marvel and stuff like that. Now that's all he does is now is cut trailers for them. And it was based on people seeing his trailers for, I think it was Inception or Interstellar, one of those ones. He made a trailer for that. I really wish I remembered his name. I apologize if anybody here remembers it. But he does that for a living, and that's what's crazy about it. It's like the Star Wars. In my mind, I'm thinking the Star Wars bubble knows about it, and they're not doing anything because they're going to reach out at some point and say, "We need you to come work for us."
I mean, that's what I've heard. People have told me that it's probably more of a door opener than a door closer, and I'm like, hey, great, that would be awesome. I'm not expecting anything because I can totally see it being very much like, oh, if we gave this guy a job, like, one, we're admitting that maybe the show wasn't to the highest standard that we wanted it to be, and also like, I can see it being a disrespectful move to a lot of people that worked on the show. And I totally understand that, and that's why I'm like, honestly, if this blacklisted me from ever working on Star Wars in the future, I'm like, still, to me, this was worth it because, it's opened a lot of doors in general, and I've got to meet a lot of really cool people and get to talk with a lot of really cool people. And if this is my mark on the Star Wars, community, I am a happy man. Like, this is all I need.
I mean, it's fascinating to not have to have their legal department contact. I mean, again, it's a fan edit. You're not, I mean, there is some things, obviously there's some tight ropes you're walking on by doing it, but there's this, you're paying homage to it, in my opinion, and making your own version of it. And I would guarantee you right now, someone's watched your cut and then gone on Disney Plus, or the opposite, and watched the original. So they're getting streamers, they're getting subscribers, they're continuing getting subscribers because of this cut, because of the fact that if anyone's like me, I want to compare. I want to watch yours. I want to watch the original. And that, to me, is, like I said, if they don't say anything, then, if they say something, you might get backlash of people canceling their Disney Plus subscription because they want to back you in a way that they think that is going to help you. And what you're saying is go subscribe and then watch, or be a subscriber and then watch, because that's the way it works. They're the ones that made the show. They're the ones that get the money. You just had some fun. And so you're doing it the right way, I think. I don't have a official capacity in any sense of the matter, but I think you did it the right way. I don't think you're doing it screw them. You're saying the show was a great show. I just wanted to do my version of it, and that's what you did, and it was excellent. I will tell you right now, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's really cool, because if you would have showed me that first, I wouldn't have known it wasn't done by Lucas. Like, I would not have known, but it wasn't done by Lucasfilm.
I appreciate that.
It was definitely well made, and a lot of people said that. IGN, all those articles that were written were like, this is definitely one of the best fan edits we've ever seen in our lives. So that's pretty cool. I do give you credit on that. But you are a filmmaker, so your future isn't in making someone else's movies into your own. Your future is hopefully making your own stuff, right? And so I will say I love the Patterson cut, but I do want to quickly talk about an upcoming, or a current, Indiegogo campaign you have going on right now for a short film. If you want to explain a little bit about what's going on there, I'd love to chat about that.
Yeah, so Twilight Zone is one of those shows that really made an impact on my life at a very young age as well. And I loved the feeling that I got with those shows. There's something very grand but also sinister about, like, the energy that show gives off. And I wanted to kind of replicate that same feeling that I got in one of my own short films. And so my short film, The Calico Cuckoo, is a cautionary tale, about seeing yourself in somebody else's shoes. And, not trying to take your life for granted, basically. So I'm currently trying to raise funds for it on Indiegogo. We're raising $12,000 for a 2-day shoot here in LA, and as we all know, LA is very expensive. So I can't do this film without people helping and backing this project up, and we've already hit the $2,000 mark, so 10,000 more to go and 30 days left, which is not bad at all. And I'm very appreciative of everybody that's helped get it this far. And honestly, if you can't contribute financially, like, literally just sharing the link is huge help. So yeah, and I'm super excited about it. It's not my first short film that I've made, but it's the first one where I'm gonna have, like, a budget, and I'm paying people, and I'm really trying to, like, show people, now that everyone can see that I can edit things, I want to now show people, like, yeah, I can do more than just that too. And I do have short films on my website that you can watch that I'm very proud of, even with, like, a no budget, and the things I was able to accomplish. But I really want to try my hand at like the next step in my film career. So if you want to support my dreams, and if you, and I refuse to take money for any like fan edits that I make or anything. So if you do want to support me or contribute like that, that is the way to do it.
I think that is for the film industry is such a fun way of doing it. My buddy Shane, he just did an Indiegogo campaign for a movie he made, a full length movie called Slaughter on the Set. It's a horror movie they filmed here in Maine, and it's a way to again, if you donate or contribute enough money, you could be part of the producer line of things on the same thing he did. And but if you donate a little bit of money, it's paying for just basically paying for the film ahead of time. It's basically what you're doing. You're getting the ability to, if you contribute $50, like you're gonna get to see this film at the end, and instead of at the end potentially you saying, okay, we're gonna charge $1.99 for it. Not saying you are, but I'm just saying
right
that. So you're just paying for it ahead of time, and then you actually get your name potentially on the screen, or say you helped make this film. I just think it's a really cool Indiegogo or the crowdfunding aspect of things is a really cool thing to help filmmakers. And like you said, you could do it without it. You could just do it yourself, but it's nice to get that. And also gets people's word out there for people. Like, there is a connection to the Patterson cut of Obi-Wan Kenobi to me being a contributor to your Indiegogo, because I don't know if I would have known who you were if it wasn't for that. So there is that connection, but now hopefully someone connects to your short films will then watch the Patterson guy, and they'll go the opposite way too. So I think it's really cool, and I think Indiegogo is a great tool for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that just crowdfunding in general is also just a great way to like spread the web a little bit more, and potentially get more people in your social circle that also really appreciate the artwork that you do, and just like get excitement up for a movie, because a lot of the times when I'm just doing a movie by myself, no one knows about it except for the people that worked on it and me, and then I like post on something and I'm like, hey, so I've been working really hard on this thing, could you go watch it? And like now, doing a soft launch of the movie on like Indiegogo, it's like now I potentially have thousands of people that are waiting on this movie. And that also kind of puts on the pressure in a good way, where it's like, okay, like I do have to make this film, and I do like, I can't just let it, pass me by basically. I've had creative works where I really get excited about it, but then it kind of amounts to nothing, not because I don't have passion for it, but just because there's other things I have to do, or it costs too much money at the time, or and so this is a great way where I can see my vision through and also stay accountable and get it done.
It's funny too, because I think some people connect like a crowdfunding with people who can't can't afford to make it, or can't. It's funny how that's that connection there too, because I mean, big movie making people do crowdfunding projects to get their things made. I mean, was a Superbad 2 was all Indiegogo, the original doing that one. But there's, Fat Man Beyond, Mark Bernardin, who's Kevin Smith's co-host on his podcast. He's made a short film that he did all via crowdfunding as well. And he probably could afford to have backed himself or asked Kevin, his best friend, to help back it with him. And he said, no, I'm going to put this out there. And it makes literally, I'm now an investor. Not patting myself on the back, because I didn't. It's not like I contributed thousands of dollars, but I'm now I'm invested in your short film. I'm literally invested in it, but I'm also now socially invested in it, in the sense that once it's done, I'm like, I back this, and I want other people to see it. So there is that crowdfunding marketing side of it, but the same thing you said earlier, which was you don't have to financially do it either. If you're, it's Christmas time. It is one of those things where you don't have enough money. Still share it, because if you're looking forward to being made, someone has to put the money into it. So if you can't do it, maybe your friend will do it, and then you'll still get to be able to see it. So the sharing aspect of social media has been making filmmakers like yourself be able to make projects that they're happy about. So that's exciting, and get paid to pay the people to make it. And that's the big thing.
That's the biggest thing. I just want to be able to like show the people that worked on it that I really value their time and effort, because anybody that I've ever worked on, one of my short films with, I'm just amazed at how, they'll throw themselves into it. And like, this is my vision. I'm just like a kid who wanted to make a little movie. And then there's people who are like, treating me like I really am the director that I'm, pretending to be, and that they're like, yes, yeah. It'd be great too, is if we did this, and then we get that collaboration, and like just having more people there to contribute their talents as well is so amazing. And so this time I'm like, I really, really want anyone working on this film to know how much I appreciate them. And when you get further into adulthood, it's not like, I'll get you dinner. It's like, now it's like, okay, I want to really support that you're taking time out of your day, and potentially, even saying no to another gig for 2 days to work on something that I want to work on. So that is honestly the main reason why me and my producer decided that we were going to go for crowdfunding, because we were like, yeah, right now we can't afford everybody, and still with the budget that we have set out, it's still not what these people should be paid if they were working on something real. And so that it also just feels bad, but it feels nice that, if we hit our goal, we can at least pay them, a good sum of money that they can feel good about, and that's why I'm just like, yeah, I just want to support people, and their dreams just as much as they support mine.
Yeah, and that's something. I mean, my full-time gig is, I'm a graphic designer. I design beer labels for a brewery, and there's too many people out there who take advantage of the idea of, we have 20,000 Instagram followers, so if you design something for us, you're going to get that much out there. And it's like,
yeah,
that does not equal what it's worth, what you put the time and energy into it. Like, I don't care. Yes, it has helped pad your resume a little bit. So like, anybody who helps you with a short film, by being able to put that on their resume, it does help them potentially land another job. But just because you gave them the ability to be seen by all these people does not equate to them making that money later on in life. It does not work that way. So yes, all of us in the designing and creative field have to give our time and not get paid for what we put our time into to get out there. But in the end, if you have the ability to pay them something, every creative person out there should be paid for their work. So it is nice to see that. And so like, and the same thing, my buddy who did the crowdfunding for his, is like, I put $20,000 on it to make this film. It's going to cost me like 30, 40. And
yeah,
I'm just saying that I would like some help with paying for this film. Not that you were paying for the entire film and I didn't put anything on myself. No, I want some help by putting this out there for the people. So it was nice to see him. He did filming in like a week in Maine. It was one of the coldest weeks I've had in a while. And I was like, he's like,
man.
He looks at me, he goes, if I ever say I want to do this again, please talk me out of it. He says the crowdfunding was stressful. The filming was stressful. Now I have to actually make the movie. It's all this other stuff. So it was kind of funny hearing him say that. But you can back the project on your website, right? Is it KaiPattersonFilms.com?
Yes. Yeah. Correct? And if you go into my films tab, you'll see the Calico Cuckoos up at the top.
Yeah.
And you can find the Indiegogo page on the Calico Cuckoo page as well.
And then you have all kinds of your short films and stuff like that on there as well.
Yeah. You can find all of my fan edits on my website as well. But yeah, it would be so helpful for anyone listening to, just go and contribute or share. And yeah, I'd be so grateful every single time that a new backer pops up in the notifications. I'm always so excited. Some of them have been family and some of them have been people I don't know their names. And I'm like, wow, like someone that doesn't know me has enough faith in me to like, shell out some money. And I'm so grateful for that. And it gets me so excited every single time I see, a notification come in, no matter how small. I'm just like, wow, somebody believes in me and they believe in my dream. And that is honestly the coolest part. It is stressful. Like I do feel, I also feel like I'm annoying everybody in my life, but I'm like, I wouldn't like, I hate when people sell me stuff, and I wouldn't do this kind of like campaigning if I didn't really believe in the project and I didn't like it didn't have like emotional weight to it for my life. I don't want to bombard people with things that like ultimately don't matter. But for me, yeah, it might not matter to somebody who's going to contribute. But for me, like this is my filmmaking career, and film is my life. So
yeah,
it's really investing in me as a human being and keeping me out of a depressive episode. So thank you.
It's funny, and this is not the reason why you should contribute, but the fact that how crazy would it be if you are eventually seen as director of Star Wars 27 and you're like, but I backed that short film he did like back in 2022, 23. I was on that thing. This is really cool. So not that that's the reason why you should do it, but I'm just saying it's one of those cool things. And another cool thing about Indiegogo or crowdfunding things is it does take you time to make this. Like obviously you're gonna have a schedule at some point and all that stuff, but like it takes you time to make this. I've gotten things in the mail recently where I backed on Kickstarter or crowdfunding, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot I backed this, and I get it. I'm so excited to forget completely about it. I mean, I was just talking earlier with a buddy of mine about this curse words book I had back here. It's Charles Soule and Ryan Brown's series, and it was their whole damn thing, and my name's in the back of it because I backed it, and it was random.
That's awesome
because of the paper shortage during the pandemic and all that stuff. It was like all of a sudden I know I get this heavy package in the mail. I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh my god, I forgot about that. I probably had some email somewhere saying they shipped it, but it's really cool to have that. So when all of a sudden I know when this project is done and you put it up and someone can see it, you're like, I was like, oh my god, I was the one I backed that. This is cool. I'm excited to see this. So there's some fun things to that, and it makes me look forward to it, look for the updates and all that stuff too. So I think it's cool backing things. And you have a $10 thing, right? Is that true?
Yeah. For $10, I believe it's that you can get your name in the movie.
Yeah.
The credits, yeah. So and also each perk has, most of them as you go up, you still get everything that is below it too. So
that's cool.
That's a great way to just, if you see a couple of perks that you're like, oh, like I, would like to do all of these, you can just like pick the higher perk and it, most of them have all of the other ones. I think the only ones that don't have them are like, because, I don't want you to have early access to a film if you're going to come to the screening, when we do it also. But yeah, for the most part, if you pick the higher one, you'll also get the perks below it too.
And your goal, I mean, what's your estimated hope to get this done? Like obviously the campaign's 30 days longer, but I'm saying like, when's your hope to actually have a finished product?
Yeah, I'm hoping to shoot in late January and then hopefully have everything done by like mid-March or something. But I no promises.
No, don't take any of that. And it's funny because when you back a Kickstarter or crowdfunding Indiegogo stuff, it does say that they don't promise, like the company Indiegogo or Kickstarter is not responsible if the person doesn't fulfill their promises in making the thing. But that's not because of someone just taking your money and leaving. There's obstacles that you're gonna have to overcome, and it might take a little longer because of that thing. Your plan is to make the thing. It just may take you longer than you're hoping. And so people have patience, I think, when they back Kickstarters and Indiegogos and crowdfunding, I think. But and how long do you want the movie to be? I know short films, it's ranges in length.
Yeah, the script is about like 12 to 15 pages, so it's gonna probably be around 10 to 15 minutes. Cool. I wouldn't want it to go over 15 minutes. A lot of my films, like one of my first short films, Red Mission, was about a Mars landing gone wrong and kind of like had a 2001: A Space Odyssey vibe to it. And that one was about 25 minutes long. And I've submitted that to a bunch of film festivals, but I think it's just like a little long to be a short and a little short to be a feature, so it's like it's an awkward length. And I think that kind of the sweet spot is like the 5 to 10 minute range, but that's also really like for the types of stories that I want to tell. Usually I need a little bit more time to really set the tone and give you the feel of the world. So this will probably be like a 10 to 15 minute film.
Cool. Awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I loved your Patterson cut. I haven't watched the Boba Fett ones yet, but I will get into that at some point. I know there's no pressure to watch. I've watched the series, so I've seen that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what sets our cuts apart from the series mostly is that we tell it in chronological order. So there's no flashbacks. It's just, from one thing to the next. And also I edit in quite a bit of Mandalorian into Boba Fett's story because they're so interconnected. And I think it's just really fun to see those stories because, you know, like there's parts of Boba Fett where you're like, oh my God, I know exactly where we are in the timeline for Mandalorian. And so I think what's nice about, you know, our cuts is that you get to actually see that, you know, you get to see them side by side and how they fit.
That's really awesome. It's just really cool. Like I said, you're talented. You know, I don't want to like pat you on the back too much on this podcast, but you're very talented in what you do. And so I'm excited to see where you go. I'm excited to see this short film come to fruition too. Obviously, like I'm going to take a look at some of your older ones so I get a chance to do that. But I think I'm excited. You know, I was when we set this date, I was like, I'm really excited to talk to you. I'm excited to see what goes on. And I'm glad I kind of set it far enough in a distance that we actually were able to talk about your crowdfunding project there too. So that's pretty cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And you know, you definitely can just keep, you know, helping my ego rise if you so please. You know, I'm not gonna stop you.
Perfect. I'll keep on. We got like another 10? No, just kidding.
Let's go another 15 minutes, but only you saying nice things about me. Thank you.
I like your glasses and your setup in your office is nice. No, KaiPattersonFilms.com, right? And you're on Instagram, and you're on
Patterson Films,
TikTok. It looks like
Kai Patterson Films there as well.
YouTube is same thing.
Kai Patterson Films on YouTube. Kai Patterson Cut on Twitter because films wouldn't fit. I don't know why Twitter won't let you have longer handles, but
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, the whole Twitter thing right now is ridiculous in the first place, but we won't get into that.
True.
And so check all those out and check out the Indiegogo. I think you can also just search for the Calico Cuckoo right on the homepage of Indiegogo as well. I'm sure you'll find it. It's not a very common name, so I don't think it's gonna get confused with something else.
I was worried that people might not even know like what it like how to sound it out, you know. Like I think a lot of people are like, did he misspell calico? And I'm like, it's caligo.
It's about a cat.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's cat
and a bar.
And a bird. Don't worry about it. It's Tom and Jerry part 2. No.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and joining the podcast and talking. You know, we talk a lot of comics on here, and this is comic adjacent, I think. So I think having a Star Wars talk is always fun to sprinkle in there a little bit too. And honestly, maybe if it's up to you, you don't have to, but we do a Star Wars week every Star Wars May the 5th that week. So maybe we can go and talk more about Star Wars later on down there if you want to join us to talk about that.
Please
to talk about
I would love that,
your Wikipedia knowledge over there. But until the next time, I really appreciate it. And again, easiest place to find all the stuff is KaiPattersonFilms.com. It says all the links on there, and you can back his Indiegogo for his new short film. What's your producer's name again?
Daisy Davis.
Davis. I want to give her a shout out too, because gonna put some hard work in that movie as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
I literally can't do this project without her. So all the praise to Daisy Davis.
And the benefit I will say of someone who's doing a crowdfunder who also makes movies is that your crowdfunding promotional stuff is good as well. Like when someone's crowdfunding for like a book and they don't have the ability to like talk on screen, it's like, well, no, you make these things. This is what you want to do for a living. So hopefully that video was cut perfect enough for people to understand what's going on. So, but and you get some little AI or some creative stuff in there as well.
Yeah, the AI generated post like concept art, which has been really nice too. Because you know, as much as I'd love to be able to pay a concept artist, that's just not in the books for me. So doing AI concept art is also super cool too, because it's like you get this different perspective of what it could look like. But
that's cool.
It's all been great, and I'm so excited to get it going.
I'm excited to see it. So obviously get in touch with us if you want to like any updates. Obviously I'll read up via the Indiegogo because I am a backer on there too. So thanks. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day over there in sunny California, right?
Yeah, it's a little rainy right now, but I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. This has been awesome.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy it.